overall focus though is to support special educators, of course, our teachers, special education teachers, and their workload. And the way we saw this, and we know we're preaching to the choir here, folks, but we know AI has really revolutionized so many different things, and we know from the area of inclusion, broadly speaking, but particularly for students that struggle and those with disabilities in the general education classroom, where they spend a good majority of their time. AI is really altering our supports, our resources, our materials, our accommodations. I would argue it's really, next slide, please, changing what it is that potentially we are doing as general educators or special educators. And if not changing now, it will very shortly. And so with that, we thought we'd give three different topics, and I'll let Samantha and Adam talk to that we thought we'd try to illustrate some of these changes in. And again, knowing that many of us are already doing some of these things. But go ahead, Samantha or Adam.
So there are so many ways that you can use AI to support teacher workload. If you watched our YouTube video, you already saw a bunch of them, and we're going to go over some of them now live. What we want to do before we hop into those is look over this list, and what on this list are you like, I need to know how to do that? And our goal is to hopefully go over a couple of them live right now. Some of them are in that recording. But if you want to just pop in the chat something that's on that list that you are very interested in seeing, and then we're going to do some demos.
So if you would
And
go
you will
through
get,
the chat and just share away.
yeah, you're going to get access to this presentation at the end. And this presentation has a bunch of snapshots and what are they called? Prompts that you can stick into various AI that you can use when you're not sitting with us. IEP goals, data, progress monitoring, assessments. Awesome. Take a few more seconds. Other ideas? Goals that can be measured.
It's me just offering illustration.
Love it. All right. Well, while the rest of you trickle in, I'm totally for audience participation. While the rest of you trickle your ideas into the chat, let's hop into looking at this IEP goal data kind of idea. So there's several. Okay, there are several different tools that you can use to write an IEP goal. There's specific tools like Magic School. Shout out to Magic School, super cool program, where you can log in, and this is what it looks like when you log into Magic School. And you can go over here and click IEP, or type, not click, IEP, and you get a bunch of different Gen AI that are used specifically for developing an IEP. So I can go and do an IEP generator, I can do a BIP generator. The most important thing when we're talking about using AI to support any teacher or student is you want to use what's called sanitized data. You never want to put student identifying information, names, birthdays, phone numbers, social security numbers. Basically, like think back to when you talk to your parents or your grandparents about what they should and shouldn't put on the internet. You want
Are
to
you having
consider that
trouble trying to keep up?
you want to consider that same advice when you're entering things into AI. So Magic School is great because it's a drop down. So I can say I have a third grader, they have autism, and then you're going to list some strengths, areas of need, behaviors, challenges, whatever it might be. So we're going to say decodes at the first grade level, comprehend at the second grade level, struggles with multi-digit addition, subtraction. I'm making this up. You would obviously use like a real student because you're going to be working with real humans. Maybe struggles with turn taking, kind, and helpful. The more information you give it, the better it's going to be. I'm going to copy this because we're going to reuse it. I'm going to hit generate, and it's going to write out an IEP. Now, here's the thing. Whatever this pops out is going to be really generic. It's based on the information you give it, but it's not going to really know your student. So maybe, for example, verbal cues don't work for your student. You're not going to put that in there. Or maybe that this goal isn't good. You don't like this goal, or maybe some of the information here isn't what you want. The idea is this is a jumping off point. Most of the AI will do similar things. This one is nice because it's concise and made specifically to generate an IEP. We can go over to Copilot and say the same thing. Right now, we're going to do a goal. Write a goal for my student who, right, just pasted that same thing in there. Let's see, he is a, what did I say, third grader? We'll call him a fourth grader with autism. Okay, I don't like that goal. I don't think it's specific enough. So I might make it more specific, write a SMART goal. See if it does a better job. Okay, great. I like that goal. AI likes to be told it's doing good, like all humans, even though it's not human. Now I can say, make a data sheet for me with example problems I can use and that I can track how he responds in progress monitoring sessions. Each AI is going to work a little differently. You'll find that some AI make really great data sheets and some don't, and some you'll like and some you won't like. And you're just going to keep playing with it until you get what you want. So let's see what this comes up with. Come on, Copilot, you can do it. There we go. So this one, I need to be more specific with. It filled in the problems. So give me sample problems instead of answers that I can track my data. The better your prompt, the better you'll get. If you watch the video, we get a really nice data sheet out of it. Let's see what this does, and I'm going to hand it over to Adam after this to talk about
Jenny.
Well,
Jenny. Yes.
as we're watching this, a couple different thoughts also increasingly. So many of us wear multiple hats. I wear multiple hats. One of the hats I wear is a parent of a child with a disability. And increasingly, I'm seeing teams of educators communicate with parents in terms of trying to get ready for an IEP meeting, helping AI generate, because they know their child quite well, but they don't know what a SMART goal is. They don't know a measurable goal and they'll start being introduced to some of these products in a very structured, meaningful way to be able to further empower the parent as they come prepared to the meeting, not to develop their own goals and benchmarks, but rather to understand potentially where they're going in respect to the individual they're trying to serve, so their child, so they can better be participant, better communicate, et cetera, in those types of interactions. We also have, and we haven't mentioned, but just many of us use Ludia already, a great tool for universal design for learning in respect to artificial intelligence. But that's where we can also utilize, so that from the UDL framework, thinking about measurable goals that align to the framework. And yes, there's some apps that do that, but Ludia as an AI tool will do that as well. So help create goals and measurable aspects for progress monitoring, utilizing all three of those principles in the various, 9 guidelines. So ways to kind of extend that just beyond just simply several of these IEP generators. So, all right.
Okay, it made me a nice little assessment here. It'll make me my data sheet, maybe.
It's good. It's thinking. So, all right.
And remember, like Samantha said, you can do the same prompt and same type of idea on any of the generative AI things like Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT, O, any other ones you like to use.
Yeah. So this gave me a blank data sheet. I don't hate it. I just wish it listed my problems. So Adam, are you sharing your screen for Jenny?
I can, yeah.
All yours.
Since we have so many people here, I just want somebody to type in the chat a random topic. Doesn't have to be education related, just anything that comes to your mind right now. I know somebody can do that for me.
Thanks, Lisa, for asking. Thanks, Tracy, for answering with Lydia. And Sam, thanks for beating me to giving that URL to Lydia. So,
perfect. Spider monkeys.
Or climate change.
Or how about both? All right, so this is
the
Jenny.
impact of spider monkeys on climate change. Nope, other way around. Climate change on spider monkeys.
Okay. So this is Jenny. Jenny's a great way to kind of organize your writing, get help with writing, do more with writing. And most of the time I use it for more academic writing, but I have seen more use in helping teachers use this to kind of organize what their thoughts are into the IEP. Maybe you're doing present levels of performance and you don't want to use some of the other ones, or you want to figure out a kind of a script to help you talk to parent, maybe change the way you say something. This is a really good way to kind of organize your thoughts, get ideas that you might not have thought of. So what you do here is you're going to go to Jenny, which is Jenny, JENNI.ai, and it's going to first ask you, new document. What are you writing about today? So we talked about it. So I am writing about the effect climate change has on spider monkeys. Okay. So it's green. It's enough to start. So it's going to give me, it's going to fill in a topic. So now I have a blank page. This is something similar to like Word or Google Docs. You can just type whatever you want into here. But let's say I personally don't know anything about spider monkeys. So what I want to do is I can go down here to the little chat box and say, if my keyboard works, can you help me get started with this topic? So what it's going to do is it's going to think, and then it's going to spit out a whole bunch of stuff this is what I really like about Jenny. So it says climate change is pressing. It's a global issue and on primate species like spider monkeys. So then it tells you what do we know about spider monkeys? It gives you that kind of idea to kind of help you, and it'll keep going. Climate change impacts. And as you keep going further, it'll start giving you like research questions. It'll give you definitions. It'll give you start things. So that kind of helps you get ideas. But let's say I want to come over here and I can click into here. So now I just have this blank page. So I can do something like climate change and then it starts going for me. So climate change is a global phenomenon that has far-reaching consequences. Let's say I like that. I'll keep that. Now I can press space, and again, it'll keep going. One such species that's vulnerable is the spider monkey. So now we got two sentences. Spider monkeys belonging. Now this is where it gets kind of interesting, because if you've played with ChatGPT or any of the other ones, most of them make up or use fake citations. And Jenny, these are real. So what can happen is you can see here, it'll start generating. Now it'll generate it if you have the paid version, but if you have the free version, it won't generate it. But what you can still do is you can click on these and you can see exactly where it came from. So tropical warming and the dynamics of endangered primates. So I can see what that article is about and if I like that or not. And I can go find that article, and another one same way. Now, you don't want to completely use everything it does, but this makes it very easy to kind of continue on. And then it does a couple other things, like I can also say over here, things like, can you help me outline a 5-paragraph essay or something like that if you're using it for school. And you can use that same chat box like you would in any other one, but then on the same part, you also have the side of the doc. So now it's giving me the hook. It'll give me everything that you kind of want to know. And that's kind of a rudimentary run through of how Jenny can help. Now, obviously, there's more pertinent things towards higher education and doing different parts of schooling, but this kind of gives you an idea of how Jenny works if you've never used it.
And Sam, I love the comments you offered there in the chat about different ways that Jenny can be used. So that's great. So am I sharing next?
You are.
All right, great.
Are.
So we can talk about a variety of different things, but here we go. What I want to share with you is DFID. And many of us are familiar with DFID. I know that, but I want to share it with it because of the idea that that educator that is working through in terms of trying to provide a variety of accommodations. I work with a number of educators right now where they don't want to provide the accommodations, don't have the time to accommodate. That's a don't want to, don't have the time, don't have the knowledge base, can't take their notes and summarize them into fashion, can't break out the key points for study and all the different ideas. And so for those of us familiar with DFID, Diffit will take any presentation you have, any article you have, any text you have, and be able to take it and basically redistribute it into some of the features I just mentioned. So for example, I'm just going to grab a copy. I'm going to copy a presentation on the 3 branches of the U.S. government. So I already have that selected. I'm going to go up here where it says article or video. I'm simply going to paste it in here. And oops, I copied and pasted something in between there. I shared out our presentation, so that's not our presentation. So let's go do that again. There's our presentation. Oh, and by the way, I want to do this at the 5th grade level. Although I'm talking to middle schoolers with the 3 branches of government, I want it at the 5th grade reading level because of variability of the students I'm working with. I'll keep it at English. All those are a variety of languages for me to select. And there's a number of things I can do in terms of aligning with standards, but I'm going to simply go general resources. And what will happen here is it will create a summary in terms of text. It will transcribe what the video shared in text. I'll get to the top in just a moment. And in each of these areas, folks, it allows me to edit. It allows me to copy. It also, in some instances, allows me to adjust the length. This instance, of course, it can adjust the length. But of course, I can edit in, I can copy, I can delete what I need, what I don't need. It then summarizes that aspect. It gives me key vocabulary, gives me multiple choice questions. It also offers short answer questions. It also offers open-ended prompts. That's immediate. With anything I'm sharing, it's going to repurpose that. Again, in each of these areas, I can edit, copy. Here I can add prompts, add questions, depending upon the section. Again, adjust reading level, add questions, add vocabulary, etc. The other thing it did was it took, from a visualization perspective, it took and identified visuals for the core concepts. Now you may be saying, well, Sean, that was a video you selected. So of course, all it did was took screenshots from the video. Honestly, it did, but it also did not. It went and grabbed, because of the topic, it went and grabbed images representing the different issues that, yes, the YouTube video may have used, but also the YouTube video did not use. So again, if I'm going to grab text, it'll visualize it. It'll take a video and visualize it as well, et cetera, et cetera. So from there, I can also, though, go to student activities. And here I have a whole list of areas: summarizing learning, vocabulary, reading strategies. And I'll scroll down here. Writing strategies, text analysis. And most of these will be editable, and they'll come out as a Google slide or as a PowerPoint to you. And I'll select it. Let's see. Let's go ahead and go with, let's go something with reading strategies, reading with vocabulary. I'll select that. And I can customize this. And in customizing it, it's giving me vocabulary terms. It's saying use in a sentence or an image to represent. And I can go and edit this content. And in editing the content, I can alter these elements that will come out as a PowerPoint slide, a Google slide, et cetera, for resources. The thing I like here is not only does it takes the information and repurposes it, but it also organizes it into some structure of maybe some strategies or ways, formats that I would not have thought of that would be helpful to structure the learner. And again, it's done the work for me with some edits on my part, and then it's open to be used by the student. So I'm going to stop sharing, but that's Diffit. That's in our presentation as an example of being able to repurpose and do a lot of time-saving things for us as educators and teacher educators. So I'm not sure who's taking over the stage from us. Is it Samantha or Adam?
So we just shared 3 tools or 3 ways we really like to use AI. But the purpose of this demo is to be able to support you. So now that you've had a few minutes to digest a little bit, think a little bit, what tools do you want to see more of? What concepts do you want to see more of? The 3 of us love this stuff. We can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. But if we hear from you, we can adjust it to you.
Could you address your directions to students who are using Jenny? How much should they depend on Jenny and still claim it to be original and or collaborative with AI? Adam and or Samantha, please.
That's a great question. So
I think it's the same basis as you would with ChatGPT. You use it as a idea maker, as a different way to do it, but then you also have to kind of teach the ethical part of changing into your own words and your own ideas. Typically, personally, Jenny is one of my favorite ones I use, but I don't tend to implement it as much on the student side as I do as the teacher and somebody using it for teaching. I tend to use more of the generative AI ones where it's going to give you a product and you have to change it versus Jenny kind of thinks for you. I don't think there's an
I
easy answer to that question.
I would actually feel opposite. So I focus on writing and supporting students with disabilities in writing. And what I like about Jenny is that we're teaching students how to use predictive text, because at some point that kind of is what Jenny does. It's very similar to the predictive text on your phone, but more advanced in the fact that, on your phone, you just hit the middle button over and over and over again. You can make a sentence. With Jenny, it's a little more complex because it's going to give you better output. Sorry, I'm opening it up right now. What I like about Jenny is that you can start to have a really good conversation with a student about the essay. So Jenny might say, I don't know why it's talking about buying a car. So if we're doing an essay on, what was it? Spider monkeys and climate change.
Yeah. You don't have to give
And
it. Yeah.
I can have that conversation with my student and say, okay, well, do you know what the word phenomena means? Maybe we find a better word for you. Or, maybe I want you to start with a different frame. So we're going to go to Jenny and use Jenny to make the outline. And then from there, have the conversation with the student. So we're not necessarily using Jenny to generate, or using Jenny to be that sounding board. Some students, that blank page is really intimidating. And so in the beginning, they might just generate from Jenny 100%. But the more that we start to have the conversations with them and empower them to use these tools to share what they want to share, the more they're going to use them responsibly. It's novel until it's not novel, and then it becomes a support.
And then the
So
other,
fully.
Sean, go ahead.
Well, I was going to simply share that next comment about my concern, the ethical use of generative AI tools. I think it's hard very much to group them. So, for example, that DIFIT, I would say, why wouldn't we? And this is often the challenge: is I have a presentation or I have this information, and I don't have the knowledge and or the time, and oftentimes the time to repurpose it into key summaries, et cetera, et cetera. So a tool like DIFIT will do it for the user, for the educator. So why wouldn't then we just simply say, here's my original content. I've repurposed it with this AI, and here I'm sharing this out. And by the way, I may tweak some of these general resources that have been created to make them more relevant to the tool I need to be able to offer. And those to the Google Slides I was sharing, or they come out as PowerPoint slides. But in that instance, it's the original content is either something I found on the internet that I use regularly, like that presentation on 3 branches of government, or it might be something I've created, but then the AI has repurposed it into these supports and materials that then I would just simply share out. Now, of course, I'd look to see whether or not the content's appropriate and things of that nature. And I could certainly say AI generated this, but repurposing it from there, in that instance, I'm not sure why, due to the way I want to use it. It's a time saver. It's giving resources in a variety of different ways. It's allowing the individuals to be able to connect in the ways that it has been provided, et cetera, et cetera. So it's different from Jenny, but I think that's the reality of more and more of these generative tools is the AI is doing different things, and depending upon what it's doing. Back to the IP. I mean, I would hope we were not using the IP that AI is generating, but as a parent of a child with a disability, I've seen a lot of poorly written IEPs, a lot. I'm going in there editing as a parent oftentimes. If we can help guide educators, maybe early educators, with some basic structure that AI can support with writing measurable goals, and then being able to repurpose those into specific and unique needs for the individual, I don't see how that's a bad thing. Our guidance is how to take that and then utilize it appropriately, and that would be us as leaders, us working with our colleagues, et cetera.
And I would say back on the assignment part, I think we also have to think about what we're assigning to students and how we're doing it. So if it's kind of thinking backward planning, what's the goal of your assignment? Is the goal of your assignment writing a 5-paragraph essay with good conventions, or is the goal of your assignment to follow up the key idea? So maybe you're using Jenny to come up with that first sentence, and then you have the assignment say, what did Jenny say for the first sentence, and how do you respond beyond that? What are the details you could add to that? So really redesigning how you think about what the assignment is, and then using AI to support it.
For the ethical question, that's a really popular question. I put a couple links in the chat. The first one is to Santa Fe Community College. What they did is they created, I don't think they meant necessarily for me to love it as much as I do, but they created a website that focuses on how do we support faculty in the question of what does AI look like in my classroom. So they have a whole slew of resources here on different syllabi, created different syllabi, different ideas about how generative AI looks in the classroom. As far as the question about like the critical thinking aspect, what's important is that, first of all, AI is trained off of the information that's on the internet. So just like we're really cautious about, or should be really cautious about what we pull off the internet, we should be cautious about what we pull from AI. So some ways to do that, if you watch the YouTube video, is I go through the same prompt in 3 different AIs, and 2 of them give me one answer and another gives me a different answer. So then I go somewhere else to check it. So finding ways to check your work. Some of these AI like Copilot or Jenny will give you citations that you can click on to look and make sure the information is accurate. AI isn't going to do the work for you. We're talking about ways that AI can be leveraged to support teachers, but we're not talking about AI becoming the teacher. And so we still need to make sure that we're the ones that are putting our name on things, that we're the ones that are sharing our voices, sharing our expertise. We have the expertise in the classroom and the teaching and the pedagogy, etc. The AI is just a bunch of information given to us. It's a really great assistant, but it's not always correct. Cheryl, oh, the other thing I put in there was an AI checklist for K-12, which looks at is your school ready for AI, and looking at what things to consider as you're bringing AI in. And then we have one more question and one more minute. It also may be motivating for students to encouraging them to read and think about a topic they co-generate. Yeah, having that conversation, having that collaborative thinking partner is really motivating for a lot of us. And so being able to have that conversation with the AI is really motivating for a student, especially someone that doesn't want to, appear that they don't know the answer. We have 1 minute left. There's a question about pre-K resources. I don't know if you're the one that asked in the community, but I am not a littles person, but a lot of these things that we have in the presentation and that we showed today are more teacher-facing tasks. What can the teacher do rather than having the student interact with the AI? I don't know if anyone is a littles person, but that would be my response.
Fine.
Adam, Sean? No?
Fine. Yep.
Great. We got 1 minute left. So if there's any closing questions or comments or anything, if you've been using AI, we'd love to hear about it.
Feel free to type it or speak it.
And/or please remember the presentation for resources we haven't even mentioned is there in the chat as well.
Well, that is it. At the end of the presentation, we have emails and some other resources for you to learn more about using AI, either through the article that this was based off of, the recording, joining the CITL community in the conversation, publications from CITL, and our emails are there as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you in the CITL community.
Feel free to reach out.
Yes,
Samantha, add the presentation in there one more time if you could.
Yes, yes, yes.